Jesus said, it's easy to pray for your friends. It's easy to pray for those you love. What you get to do is pray for your enemies.
Hello, I'm Patty.
Hi, Patty.
Hi. A couple of years ago, I embraced the scripture that says for us to pray for those who would do us harm. And ISIS was in the news then too. And my question is, how can I give voice to pray for what is apparently evil? I know we're all one. What I have been able to do was to see that most of those ISIS members are young men and women who come from a background that doesn't know what we know. And so I pray for their eyes and souls to be open to that place within themselves, as well as our leaders that don't seem to know that either. So I would just like for you to help me give voice to those things, that vision that I have for those people to be turned.
So, Patty, it seems as though you have a voice of your own. You already have your voice. You already have seen it from a particular spiritual point of view and are already speaking it. Does that not feel and not like enough?
No, I'm still very sad. I don't feel the joy for all of humanity that I know is possible.
Yeah.
My heart is breaking right now for what's happened in the last week.
Yeah, and whether it's ISIS or not, we actually don't know. And, so here's the deal. Our spiritual practice does not relieve us of feeling our feelings. So your heart should be breaking. All of our hearts should be breaking. And there is a deep and profound truth that says fanaticism and hatred and violence are not okay. What we do is we recognize that the people who are engaging in those acts are not in and of themselves evil. They aren't corrupted, soulless beings with no hope of redemption. We see them as children of God. We see them as true beings of the same makeup as us. But we also know that each and every human being has freedom of choice, free will to understand life the way that they understand it, and behave out of that understanding. And some of that behavior moves us further and further and further and further outside of behavior that we would see as in alignment with what spiritual truth teaches us. Connection, oneness, personal responsibility, compassion, communion with the divine, seeing the God in each other. Knowing that we can't take things that aren't ours. We can only give from the overflow. I mean, these are all truths that are taught in every spiritual tradition. And so every spiritual tradition, unfortunately, has fanatics. And we can point over there, or we can point in our own backyard, and we can point to every faith tradition and every point of view. And so the first thing we have to do is we have to stop blanketly stereotyping them. So the minute I hear you use the term they, and you gave it a label, right, I know that you've fallen into a stereotype. So we must avoid stereotypes at all costs. These are individual people behaving in an individual way. They don't represent a group or a culture or a religion or a race or an ethnicity. They represent a point of view. And I know that there have been times in my life when I have done things of which I am ashamed. I have done things that were completely counter to the truth of who I knew myself to be. But I thought that it would either get me something I didn't have or relieve me of pain that I was experiencing. And some of that stuff that I did was pretty hurtful to other people. And so I seek to extrapolate that, and I can only imagine how much pain or how much separation or how much anger someone or a group of people must have or be feeling to behave in the ways in which they are behaving. Does it make it okay? Absolutely not. But it allows me to separate the act, which personally I have no trouble calling evil. I'm not a superstitious New Thought person. I'm happy to call behaviors bad, and I'm happy to call them evil. What I know is the people who are doing those acts are neither inherently bad nor inherently evil. I know that they are separated from that truth. And so Jesus said, it's easy to pray for your friends. It's easy to pray for those you love. What you get to do is pray for your enemies. And that isn't just to whap, 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 get better, right? That's not what it means to pray for your enemies. It means to pray for our ability to see the truth in them and to hold them in that light. And every time our heart breaks, that means something. That means there's something that needs to be said, something that needs to be prayed for, or something that needs to be done. Our hearts break for a reason. And we don't want to cover it up. We want to feel that feeling and then move in the world the best way we know how. Thanks, Patty.
Thank you.
Yeah.